I came home on a Tuesday. That's what gets me most. Even now, it was just a Tuesday. Work had been the usual parade of nonsense. I was running late because Jenkins broke our build system again, and I'd stayed behind to patch it. When I finally walked through the door, expecting maybe a reheated lasagna or Sabrina in one of her passive-aggressive moods, what I got instead was silence. And a note. Folded, centered perfectly on the kitchen island like a psychopath had left it. My name, just Nathan in her tidy, curved script. I didn't even sit down before opening it. I wish I had. Would have saved me the next 10 minutes of standing there, jaw slack, while my entire marriage ended on 1.5 sheets of overpriced stationery. I can't do this anymore. Our marriage is dead. I feel like I'm suffocating. You don't excite me. I need more. I deserve better. You probably knew that already, but I'm done pretending. I've taken Toby. He deserves better too. That line. He deserves better too. About the dog. I read it again just to be sure I wasn't hallucinating, then noticed her key wasn't on the hook. Neither was Toby's leash. His favorite slobber-stained stuffed llama was gone from the couch. His food container? Empty. She'd cleaned out his things like she was preparing for a FEMA evacuation. I stood there, completely still, for a long time. Not angry. Not sad. Just numb. Like my brain was buffering. Then I folded the note, calmly placed it back where I found it, and walked to my office. First thing I did? Logged into our joint account and froze it. All of it. Checking, savings, investments. The works. Then I opened a private browser tab and emailed my college roommate, Silas, who just so happens to be a monster of a divorce attorney in Manhattan. He replied in 7 minutes with, "I'm in. Let's destroy her professionally." Still calm, I opened a separate window and filed a police report for a stolen dog. Yes, I know how that sounds. But Toby is microchipped in my name, purchased solely with my money, and fun fact, pet custody isn't as simple as, but I love him more, in court. My next move? Pack a duffel and book a solo hiking cabin for the weekend. See, here's the thing about being called boring your whole life. You get used to people underestimating you. They think your silence means you're soft. That because you don't yell, you don't notice. But I noticed everything. And now? I was done pretending too. The hike was exactly what I needed, brutal, quiet, and far away from cell service. Every uphill switchback burned my legs and emptied my brain. I wasn't escaping. I was preparing. There's a difference. When I got back Sunday night, I was emotionally raw but surgically focused. I brewed a cup of chamomile tea like some monk of vengeance, sat down at my desk, and opened our shared Google Drive. Sabrina, bless her arrogant little heart, never deleted a thing. I found folders titled Recipes, Vacation Dreams, and Jackpot, one called Saved Chats. It didn't take long to stumble into screenshots of her cousin Megan texting her. "You need to do it soon. You're wasting your best years with him. Trust me, once it's over, you'll feel free. I bet, redacted emoji, is way better than Nathan anyway." And there it was, the first real clue that this wasn't just Sabrina being impulsive. It was curated, coached. Megan had been in her ear for months, maybe longer, whispering poison. Then I found something worse, a browser history sync. Sabrina had forgotten she ever connected her Chrome profile to our home desktop. And what a treasure trove it was. Searches like, "Can I take the dog in a divorce if I'm not the primary owner?" "Signs your marriage is dying." "How to leave a boring husband without looking like the bad guy?" "Lawyer fees average cheating husband." That last one stung because I hadn't cheated. But the browser didn't lie. And then came the texts. Buried in her iCloud backup, we'd once shared passwords during better times. I found them. Messages between her and a guy named Marcus. Some gym trainer. Shirtless selfies. Plans for a weekend in Palm Springs. Jokes about how he probably thinks we're doing yoga when she claimed to be at a class. It was everything I needed and everything I never wanted to see. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I did what boring Nathan does best. I documented. Screenshots, timestamps, cross-referenced phone records. Silas would have his war chest. Meanwhile, I started changing the locks. I hired a locksmith, had a Ring camera system installed, and sent Sabrina a certified letter through Silas's office. Effective immediately, she was not to enter the property unaccompanied. Toby, legally, was still mine until the court said otherwise. I half expected her to show up pounding on the door, but she didn't. What I got instead was a petty little email that said, "Hope your hike was fun. I've already moved on. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." Attached was a selfie of her with Marcus. At a bar, holding a martini like she was on Sex in the City and not actively detonating her marriage. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded it all to Silas with the subject line, "Let's make it hard." 3 weeks after the note, I was sitting on my back porch watching the wind rattle the trees when I got the first sign that her fantasy life was crumbling. It came from Megan. She DM'd me on Instagram, of all places, under the guise of clearing the air. The message was cloying, drenched in faux concern. She wrote, "Hey, I just want to say I never meant for things to go down like this. Sabrina's been really overwhelmed. Things with Marcus aren't exactly what she thought. She misses Toby. He's not eating. Oh, so the dog she stole now won't eat." Toby had always been sensitive. A rescue, found under a porch in Bakersfield, terrified of loud voices and strangers. It had taken me 2 years to earn his trust. Sabrina liked posting him on Instagram, sure, but when he had anxiety pukes at 3 a.m., it was me wiping them up. Me sleeping on the floor beside him during thunderstorms. Me training him out of flinching when people reached too fast. Of course, he wasn't eating. He didn't choose to leave. He was kidnapped. Still, I didn't respond. Let her squirm. But I did forward the message to Silas, who replied with, "Do not engage, but keep every word." Meanwhile, Sabrina's affair with Marcus was starting to rot in real time. According to public court records, thank you, Los Angeles Superior Court portal, Marcus's ex-wife had just filed for full custody of their 2 kids, citing infidelity, financial instability, and emotional recklessness. It was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. I took another solo trip. Not to hike this time, just to think. Joshua Tree. Rented a cabin, brought my laptop, and outlined everything. Timeline of the marriage. Every message, every shift. I categorized evidence like I was preparing for trial, which I was. And I started therapy. First Zoom session with a guy named Dr. Lowell, who looked like a retired folk singer but asked surprisingly sharp questions. I told him about the note, the dog, the betrayal. "You don't seem angry," he said. I smiled. "Oh, I'm furious. I'm just choosing where to put it." And I was. I'd started running again. Cooking actual meals. Sleeping, finally. I'd even found a vet behaviorist who was ready to testify that removing Toby from his bonded caregiver, me, could trigger emotional trauma in a rescue dog. Sabrina, meanwhile, had posted an Instagram story of her and Marcus in matching robes at a hotel spa with the caption, "Healing isn't linear, Red Heart." Sure, but court filings? Those are. And mine were almost ready. The petition was filed on a Monday. Sabrina was officially served at Marcus's apartment, where she was now apparently living, judging by the address she listed on her response form. Silas had crafted it like a dagger in a sheath, sleek, precise, and completely devastating. We requested full asset accounting, exclusive ownership of the home, premarital property with my down payment only, and most crucially, sole custody of Toby. The claim? Pet theft under California Penal Code 487. Yes, that's a felony. And no, we didn't expect them to charge her. But the language was the point. It set the tone. This would not be a gentle, yoga-centered uncoupling. This would be a reckoning. Sabrina's lawyer, some boutique, women-centered firm Megan probably found on Instagram, responded with bluster. They claimed she left due to emotional neglect and was entitled to fair compensation for lost time and support. They even had the gall to request Toby as emotional support property. Support property. That's what they reduced my dog to. Not family. Not a traumatized rescue. A thing. I didn't say a word to Sabrina directly. I let Silas do the talking. Megan, however, couldn't help herself. She started posting cryptic TikToks. Stuff like, "When your cousin finally breaks free from a man who made beige's personality nail polish." Or, "Some men really think withholding a dog will make you miss them, LMAO." I almost laughed. Almost. Because at the same time, I was reviewing text threads from Sabrina's own messages to Marcus where she admitted she'd been planning the exit since January and that Nathan will probably just shut down like always. He's used to people leaving. Boom. Intentional abandonment. Emotional manipulation. Strategic deception. We added it all to the docket. And the best part? Toby had been legally registered to me since adoption. His microchip, vet records, licensing all under my name. Silas arranged for a behavioral vet to assess Toby's condition under court order. The vet wrote a 4-page statement describing the visible signs of canine depression due to abrupt separation from primary caregiver. Translation: You messed with the wrong mutt. Meanwhile, Sabrina's dream life was hemorrhaging. She and Marcus had gone on a break again. Thank you, Instagram captions. Megan was rumored to be couch hopping after a friend kicked her out. The same friend, hilariously, reached out to me and said, "You actually seem like the normal one in all this." I just smiled and kept stacking documents. Court was coming, and I was ready. The morning of the hearing, I wore a navy suit and brought 3 things: a folder of labeled evidence tabs, a fresh haircut, and the quiet rage of a man underestimated one time too many. Sabrina showed up 15 minutes late. She was wearing what I'm sure she thought screamed ethereal victim, a cream-wrapped dress, dramatic sunglasses, and a shaky little smile. Megan wasn't with her. Neither was Marcus. She walked in alone and pretended not to look at me. I didn't wave. Courtrooms aren't like TV. No gavel banging, no screaming cross-exams. Just quiet formalities, structured language, and the slow drip of accountability. And when the judge, a silver-haired woman with the emotional range of a paperweight, opened our session, it all came pouring out. Silas was surgical. He laid out our case with brutal clarity. The note she left. The theft of personal property, Toby. Financial withdrawal attempts we had already blocked. Digital evidence of her affair, including timestamped photos, chats, and her own written admissions of intent to deceive. We submitted the vet's behavioral report, vet bills in my name, licensing history, all showing my sole care and responsibility for Toby. When the judge asked Sabrina if she disputed the emotional trauma Toby had experienced, she blinked like she didn't understand the question. "I mean, he's a dog," she said. That was the beginning of the end. Silas didn't need theatrics. He just played a screen recording of Sabrina's own texts, where she described Toby as his stupid emotional support crutch. I watched the judge's face turn. Sabrina's lawyer tried a few Hail Marys, said she was emotionally manipulated, isolated, underappreciated, that she needed Toby to cope, that the affair wasn't technically during the marriage because, quote, emotional separation had occurred. Then came the final nail, Megan's involvement. We submitted screenshots, pulled from public posts in Sabrina's synced iCloud, showing Megan's persistent interference. Advice to lie. Recommendations to take Toby as leverage. Even one message saying, if you leave him nothing, it'll force him to talk. The judge leaned forward, adjusted her glasses, and said, "Do you have any evidence that Mr. Nathan ever threatened or harmed you in any way?" Sabrina stared. "No, but..." "Then I see no reason to deny his petition for sole ownership of all premarital assets, including the dog." Bang. Just like that, the house untouched. The joint accounts, unfrozen and fully mine. No spousal support. Full custody of Toby. Sabrina's visitation request? Denied. Animals are not custody objects, the judge said, but in this case, he is clearly bonded to Mr. Nathan and adversely affected by the removal. There will be no scheduled visitation. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. But when I walked out of that courtroom with Toby's leash in my hand, I swear I could feel the last piece of her fantasy collapse under its own weight. Justice doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it just walks out quietly, with a well-fed dog by its side. The first night back home with Toby, he barely left my side. He curled up next to me on the couch like nothing had ever happened, though he whined in his sleep, soft, almost inaudible. I placed my hand on his back and whispered, "You're safe now." He sighed, deep and long, like a weight had lifted off both of us. Word about the court ruling spread faster than I expected. I hadn't told many people, but you know how it goes. One friend tells another, someone posts a cryptic, karma always delivers story, and suddenly I'm getting texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. "Dude, I just heard. You good? Wait, she took the dog? You always were the one holding that whole relationship up." Funny how clarity shows up after the storm. Even Megan went quiet. Her TikTok page disappeared overnight, and mutual acquaintances told me she got dumped by her girlfriend after screenshots of her manipulation surfaced, courtesy of a few well-timed anonymous DMs. Apparently, no one likes finding out their partner was the mastermind behind a mid-tier betrayal scheme. Go figure. As for Marcus, he vanished too. Rumor had it his ex-wife won full custody, and he was living in a rented room near Culver City. Sabrina? Back with her parents in Westlake, trying to regroup. No job, no dog, no man. Just a GoFundMe for legal healing that barely broke $200 before she quietly shut it down. And me? I kept going. I sold some unused tech gear, cleaned out the garage, even repainted the guest room. Not out of spite, out of reclamation. This was my home again. Mine and Toby's. No ghosts. No pastel bathrobes or wellness crystals on the windowsill. I saw Dr. Lowell weekly. He had this phrase, "Closure is a process, not a permission slip." I like that. So I wrote it on a sticky note and slapped it on my fridge. I even started journaling. Not about Sabrina, about myself. About what I wanted next. I realized how many parts of myself I'd folded down to make our marriage work. The solo trips I stopped taking, the friends I lost touch with because she didn't vibe with them, the hobbies that became jokes in her group chat. I made myself smaller to keep her happy. She called that boring. I call it loyal. But never again. One night, while making pasta, I got a text from an unknown number. "You win. Congrats. I hope it was worth it." I didn't reply. Because Toby was at my feet, tail thumping softly against the tile, waiting for a scrap to fall. That was worth more than any fight she could throw at me. It's been 7 months since the note. The one where she told me I was boring. That she deserved better. That the dog, my dog, did too. You know what's funny? I never really fought for her. I didn't beg or plead or try to convince her I was enough. I just let her walk out, then calmly dismantled the fantasy she built on top of our life. Piece by piece. Now, my mornings start the same way. Toby and I out on the trail before sunrise. He trots ahead, tail high, ears perked, a totally different dog than the one she left me with. He eats, sleeps, and grumbles at squirrels with the full body commitment of a creature who knows he's loved. And me? I'm good. Not in the fake, Instagram inspo kind of way. I mean real good. The kind that takes time. The kind you earn. I've got the house. My space. Silence when I want it. Friends again, real ones. We play board games, grill on weekends, talk about things that matter. I'm back in touch with my sister, too, who told me she always hated how Sabrina talked over me. It was like she needed you to shrink so she could feel big, she said. Oof. I've even started dating again, slowly. No apps. Just real conversations. A girl I met at the dog park, her greyhound tried to hump Toby, and she was mortified. We laughed about it for 15 minutes. I haven't felt that light in years. Every once in a while, I get the itch to check on Sabrina. See where the collapse landed her. But I don't. I've deleted every trace. I let the universe take care of the rest. Because the truth is, I never needed revenge. I just needed clarity. And I got it. She wanted chaos. Drama. Excitement. What she got was the full weight of a man who listens carefully, plans quietly, and never swings unless he knows it's a knockout. She said she deserved better. She was right, but so did I. And now, I've got him. He's snoring beside me on the couch right now, paws twitching in a dream, safe as ever. His name is Toby. He likes chicken, hates thunder, and trusts me with everything. That's loyalty. That's love. That's what stays.